Hello there everyone and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner. Today we're going to be playing with some vellum and also ink blending and some gold foiling. So to start with, I am going to be doing some hot foiling. I'm going to be using the Vibrant Florals hot foil plate. Now this is so pretty. I already have my machine nicely warmed up, but I'm going to pop my dye plate in there, my heat foil plate, sorry, and I'm also going to let that heat up as well. Once that's done, I'm going to grab some beautiful foil. I'm going to put that shiny side down and some vellum. So we're going to be hot foiling the vellum this time. I'm just going to add in a shim and then run that through my die cutting machine. Don't add too many shims so it's hard to push through. Once that's done, you can see that we have this beautiful look here, and I've done that twice. So I have two of the same image foiled onto some vellum. I'm going to be using the coordinating simple coloring stencil. So this is the Vibrant Floral simple coloring stencil, and I'm going to take the one that has the leaves on. I believe this is stencil 3. So for this one, I am going to be using the Sea Forest ink. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place that into position over the hot foil. So this is the right way around. This is on top of the vellum. And I'm just going to ink through all of those leaf spaces there. I can then remove the stencil and I'm going to clean that off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my vellum over on my other image and flip the stencil over, and then I'm going to ink the image again, but this time from behind. I thought this was going to make a huge difference to the images, but once they've all dried, they kind of look the same. So be that whether you've inked it on the front or inked it on the behind, it doesn't really matter which way you go. I just thought I'd do this experiment, and I thought that it would be a lot more different than it is, but it's not. So while I'm here on the back side of the second one, I am going to add in the center for the flowers, and this time around I am going to be using the pumpkin pie ink. So I've just added the larger flowers there. So when they're nice and dry, when the images are wet, sorry, they do look more different than they do when they are dry. It's a shame because I thought I was going to get two different looks, but I didn't really. So once I have cleaned this stencil off again, I'm popping it onto the one that had the inking on the top, and I'm going to ink on the top side using the pumpkin pie through the flower centers. Once that's done, I'm then going to take the first stencil, and this is the time that I'm going to color in those beautiful flowers that we have. So this one is the one where we're inking on the top of the image. And first time around, I am going to be using the Nimbus ink to go through the petals. So I'm just going to add that through there. Once that's done, I can then clean off this stencil again. I'm just using a dry tissue. I'm going to flip the second one over, so the one that we're adding the ink to the behind. Flip that stencil over too, pop it into place, and then add through the Nimbus ink again, this time to the behind of the kind of image that we have. So once that's done, I'm then going to take the second stencil. I'm going to line that up. This is the one where I'm inking on the top of the image. And this time I am going to be using the Dark Night ink. So I'm just going to add that dark blue ink through the flower petal part. I can then shift that stencil over and then add in the little flower center with some pumpkin pie ink. Again, I'm going to clean this stencil off, and then I'm going to flip this over onto the one that we are coloring on the back side, and I'm then going to use the same colors as we did before. So I am going to be using that very pretty Dark Night ink for the flowers. This is one of my favorite navies that we have, and I do love a good navy. So I'm just going to add that through the flower petals. I am kind of trying to add more of that ink to the center or the base of the petals, and then kind of let that gradiate outwards. And I'm then going to pop in the flower center again with that pumpkin pie ink. So once I have those in place, that is all of the inking complete. They do look very pretty and they do look different at this point, but once everything's dried, they do go to look the same. So I am sorry about that. So once my images are complete, I am then going to fussy cut around them. So as you can see, I am leaving a thin little border around the outside edge. This means it's going to be quicker to cut out, and I don't need to spend as much effort on it either. So once I have my main images, I'm then going to work on my background. So for this, I am going to be taking the Detailed Web cover die, and I'm just going to cut that out of some 4 1/4 by 5.5 cardstock. Now this is white, you can use whichever colour that you do wish to do, and I am going to do that 2 times, so I have 2 of the backgrounds as well. So once I have the backgrounds, I am going to add these onto a card base. Now this is a 4 1/4 by 5.5 white card base, and I'm just using some wet glue. You could use whichever adhesive that you do want, or even some double-sided adhesive before you die cut it would work as well. Once that's done, I'm then going to take my little elements that we have from before, and I'm going to pop these into position where I want them to be on my card. Once I'm happy with the placement, I am going to pop these into position and adhere them down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold over the edge pieces into the inside of the card base. I'm just using a bone folder to get a really great score line on there. And then once that's done, I am going to adhere these from behind. As you know, vellum is semi-transparent, so we can see through it. So you are going to be able to see whatever kind of adhesive that you do use on it. This is why I am adhering it from behind, and I will cover this up later on. So don't worry about seeing these little pieces on the inside of your card. They will be covered over. So once I folded those over, I am just going to use some of the glue tape from Altenew just to keep those in place there. So once that's done, I'm just going to take a little white panel. So this is slightly smaller than the card base. It's around 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm just going to add some glue tape onto the back of that, and then I'm going to use this to kind of sandwich those little pieces into place, so you're not going to be able to see them from the inside of the card. So I've done the first one. I'm just going to do this second one in exactly the same way. So I'm adding it into place where I want it to be on the card base. I'm opening up the card base and then folding those little leaves over into the inside, adhering them down, and then using a little white panel to cover those over as well, so they're not going to be seen. So we have 2 of the cards ready now. They are still a little bit flappy where the vellum is not stuck, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a sentiment to keep them into place. I'm using the Circled Sentiments die stamp set, and I am going to stamp 2 of the sentiments using some of the Obsidian black ink from Altenew. So I have the Smile Big, and I also have the Hello There. Once I have those nicely stamped, I am going to use the coordinating die just to cut those out. You can snip around these with some scissors if you wanted to as well. Once that's done, I am going to add a little bit of foam tape just to the backs of these little sentiments that we have here, and then I'm going to have them overhanging the image and the card, so it kind of sticks those images together so they're not flapping around as much as they once were. So as you can see, the dye ink has dyed the vellum paper, so there's not much of a difference whether you inked on the top or the bottom. I would recommend the bottom though. It doesn't seem to be as messy because it's kind of stuck to the paper. As we know, vellum does take a little bit to dry with the dye ink, so I would recommend maybe the second way more than the first. So here is the cards complete. I really do hope that you like the cards and that you've enjoyed the techniques as well. If you do create a card inspired by this, it'd be great if you do share, because we'd love to see. Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Hello there, crafty friend. Lydia here. Just popping in to say that you can get your daily dose of crafting tips, techniques and tutorials just like this by subscribing to the Altenew YouTube channel. All you need to do is click on that little bell up there and you will never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.